Hello, everybody. There I am. It is Thursday, and we are almost closing in on another week of virtual school. And today I have an activity that we're going to do kind of together. I know the beginning of the week, which was actually Tuesday, Mrs. Gannum talked to you about a genre that we don't usually it's just one of those genres in reading that you don't normally read, or it's not as common, and that's the idea of a persuasive letter. Now, you know what a letter is, and we've talked about what it means to persuade, which means, to talk somebody into doing something. And yesterday, Mrs. Gannum talked to you about or she read this example of a persuasive letter called Eat a Salad and discussed that a little bit with you, and why was it persuasive and what the author was trying to accomplish. So we'll go back to that in a minute. Today, what I'm going to do is I've got another example of a persuasive letter that I'm going to share with you called Don't Smoke. And I'm going to kind of read it to you, or I may play, I don't know if I can play the audio here or not, but then we will use both articles in just a few minutes to kind of compare both of them and kind of see what they have in common and maybe how they are a little bit different. So this is called Don't Smoke. And as I read, you can kind of follow along, and then we'll talk and kind of go back and review yesterday's letter as well. Here it goes. Dear smokers and anyone who is thinking of smoking, don't kill yourself. Everyone knows that smoking tobacco is one of the deadliest habits. It even says so on the package. Smoking kills. Cigarette smoke smells terrible. It makes your clothes stink. It makes your friends' clothes reek. It makes your lips and teeth yellow. It makes you and everyone around you cough. All that is nothing compared with the diseases you can get from smoking. Cancer is a horrible way to die. Do you want to breathe through a hole in your neck? Maybe you will stop breathing altogether because your lungs will be black with tar. Was it hard to read the truth in this letter? Have I been too hard on you? I don't think so. You see, my grandma died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes. I don't want you to die coughing like my grandma. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you do smoke, stop now so you won't risk getting cancer. Love, Minhwa Kuo, 3rd grade, Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School. So obviously that was a letter. Started out with a greeting, dear smokers and anyone who is thinking of smoking, and it ended with a signature, whoever the 3rd grader who wrote this letter. So it was a letter. It was a persuasive letter. Well, why was it persuasive? What was the author of this letter trying to persuade or talk the reader into thinking or feeling? Well, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. And I'm going to be kind of flipping back and forth through the slides that I have to kind of explain this. So I've got this chart that we're going to fill out. And the first box that we have, or that it has, is who is the audience for this letter. So in the example that Mrs. Gannum read to you about Eat a Salad, if I go back to that article, okay, we can look at the beginning, what we call the greeting of the letter, and determine who the letter was for. The audience means who would be the listeners or the readers. And it says, Dear people of Springfield. So I'm going to type that in, and I'm not really going to put it in sentence form. I'm just going to kind of make some notes as we fill this out. The people of Springfield. Now, who is the audience in the second example that I just read to you? Don't smoke. Well, again, let me make a text box here and think about, in just a minute, we'll go back. Who was the 3rd grader writing to? If I go back to our letter, Don't Smoke, let's look at the greeting. It says, "Dear smokers and anyone who is thinking of smoking." So really that's a broader audience. Anybody who either does smoke or is thinking about it, okay, is who this author was writing to. So I will put that. Smokers and anyone else who was thinking about smoking. Good. Okay, and since I'm not really writing these in complete sentences, I'm kind of just do what I call note-taking form. I'm not going to add a period or punctuation unless I decide, or I put it in a sentence. So sometimes when we write, we take notes. We can do it without the use of those periods and other pieces of punctuation. Okay, now what is the problem in the story? Let's think about that. The problem in Eat a Salad. Well, what did the author try to identify as the problem? Let's see if I can do that again. Make another text box, and then we'll drag it over so we can type into this chart. All right, so the problem in Eat a Salad was what? Think about it. If you said or thought that, the author was trying to recognize poor eating habits or, word that in some way, being unhealthy, eating unhealthy foods and making unhealthy choices. That's kind of the problem that the author is suggesting. So we'll put something to that effect. Poor eating habits, unhealthy choices. Again, just note-taking form today, okay? What about the problem in Don't Smoke? Well, obviously, as we read this story, or this letter, I should say, the author decided, that, smoking's bad for you. So that's what the message was that they were trying to get across in different ways and why it was bad for you. Okay, so I'm just going to put that. Smoking is bad for you. And if we were in person, if we were in class, we would be, kind of having these discussions and reading those two letters together. And I would be, kind of getting your input as a whole class, and we would be filling out this chart together. All right, let's look at the next question. What are the facts? Well, from Eat a Salad, let's think about what facts were given in that article. And I'll go back to it here in just a moment. Well, let me stretch this out. Maybe. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to delete that. Let's go back to, now I lost my text bar. All right, let's see. Where my tools got to. They're not there. Okay, let's go back in just a minute and we'll decide what the facts are. Let me find the article here. All right, so that's not it either. Eat a Salad, there it is. In the letter called Eat a Salad, the facts are, that they mention that being unhealthy makes you feel terrible, and you can get sicknesses from eating unhealthy, and you can, it can cause you to rot your teeth if you're eating too much sugar. And the hospitals and doctors cost a lot of money if you eat, if you make yourself unhealthy enough, then those things cost money, and that's definitely true. So those are the facts presented in the letter. So when we go back to our chart here, we will think about how we can say that. All right, we're back. So what we are going to think about, again, are the facts that we just read from that article. So again, unhealthy habits can create sickness, and make you feel terrible. Okay, something like that. Okay, now let's think of the facts from the article, Don't Smoke. What did the author mention as facts there about smoking? And basically, it is one of the deadliest habits, and it can make this just a little bit bigger. There. Okay, so smoking causes diseases such as cancer. Okay, good. Now, what are the opinions in this letter? Last week we talked about fact and opinion. And so as we read examples in text, we need to be able to pull out examples of fact and opinion through an article or in a letter like this. So I stretch this out. There we go. From the example, eat a salad. Again, thinking about the opinions, the author says here that we do not always do the best for our bodies. And that's her or his opinion about unhealthy eating habits. So I'm going to write that in there. We do not always do what's best for our bodies. Okay, that's his opinion. Somebody else may not think that or believe that. Okay, and that comes directly from the text. Okay, now what are the opinions of Don't Smoke? What did the author present in her letter that was an opinion about smoking? And if you think about it, get this to stretch here. It's not going to. We'll try it again. Get that to move up. There we go. All right, so in the letter about smoking, let's think. So the opinions would be she mentions that cancer is a horrible way to die, and a lot of people might think that, but maybe there's people that don't, and you can't really prove through research and that kind of thing that it's true, even though a lot of people may think that. Okay, that's an opinion. Now, what action does the letter call for? In other words, what does the author want the reader to do to maybe make a difference, or to change their ways? And in the article or in the letter, Eat a Salad, he suggests to eat healthy foods and cut back on sugar as a way to get back to being healthy. Okay. What action does the letter call for in Don't Smoke? Again, back to the letter itself. At the end of the letter, it's mentioned that maybe if you have started smoking, try to quit. If you haven't started smoking, then don't even don't even try. Okay, so let's open that up, and we'll put that do not start smoking. Okay, Are you persuaded? Why or why not? And this is kind of up to you. Are you persuaded to eat healthier? I know I am. I ate a lot of junk food over Christmas break, and I could tell I just didn't feel my best. And since then, I have done a lot better and made some better choices. So I would definitely say that I'm persuaded by that. In the letter, don't smoke. Are you persuaded? I'm not a smoker, so that doesn't really apply to myself. If you're asking, or if I'm giving my personal opinion, it doesn't apply to me really. So I'm not thinking about starting to smoke, and I'm persuaded to continue doing what I'm doing. Again, that's my opinion. And as we talk about fact and opinion, then we kind of sometimes we bring our own feelings, thoughts into what we're discussing as well. So from the text, eat a salad and don't smoke. There's eat a salad and don't smoke. We were able to take both letters and kind of discuss how they're the same, how they're different, and what message the authors were wanting to get across. So that is our lesson for today. And I hope that you learned something about fact, opinion, and also comparing these two texts.